Hi, my name is Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive. Today we have America's Finest Trial Lawyer Series and Southern California's Premier Law Firm Series, and we are featuring Shawn Chapman Holley. Stay tuned. I'm very pleased to have on our show today Shawn Chapman Holley, who's with the law firm of?
Let's call it the Holley firm, but actually no. Kinsella, Weitzman, Iser, Kump, and Aldisert.
You represent a lot of celebrities, don't
Lots.
you?
Lots of celebrities. Well, I was part of the O.J. Simpson defense team.
Okay.
I represented Geronimo Pratt, who had been wrongfully convicted for 27 years.
All
of a
about
crime
that
he
case.
did not
We're going to be
commit.
talking about that.
Sara Jane Olson, who was an accused SLA bomber.
My God, we go back, don't we?
Yes, we really do.
The SLA.
Yes, but now we're in an entertainment litigation firm. So I just finished representing Paris Hilton, and I'm now representing Nicole Richie.
You used to be the managing partner of the Cochran law firm right here in LA.
Yes.
And you work very closely with Johnny.
Very closely with Johnny. I miss him every single day.
Oftentimes, great trial lawyers are called upon to represent clients that the public might think are guilty.
Yes.
Or the public just might not like.
Correct.
And what I admire most with you and Tom Mesereau and great lawyers is that they fight for the rights of all of us, don't they?
Absolutely. No, I started out my career as a public defender. And you, as a public defender, represent a lot of guilty people,
Yes.
a lot of people that everyone hates, but you really get an appreciation and understanding of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And what that means is everybody's entitled to a good defense.
Talk a little bit about the O.J. case.
It was an amazing experience. As I said, I'd been a public defender. Johnny Cochran recruited me to come to his firm. I'd been there 5 months when the O.J. Simpson case happened. And I was one of 2 lawyers in the firm who had criminal law experience, so I got to be on that case for the next year and a half. And it was an amazing experience. We worked very, very, very hard, and I think that it was the correct verdict. A lot of people disagree with that, but I think it was the correct verdict.
Why do you think it was the correct verdict?
Well, whether you think that he, not you, but one, thinks that he's guilty or not, I definitely think the prosecution failed to meet its burden of proof. And if the prosecution fails to meet its burden, then that's a verdict of not guilty.
And that's what I was getting back to about you fight for all of us. Because even if, you know, a guilty person or whatever goes free, at least the prosecutor is held in check, right?
Absolutely.
At your present firm right now, you do a lot of entertainment law.
It's an entertainment litigation and business litigation firm, and it's very different for me because I have worked either in criminal defense in the public defender's office or at Johnny Cochran's office, civil rights litigation. And now at an entertainment firm, we represent people with, you know, problems that have to do often, as I said earlier, with money and egos, and so it's different. It's a shift for me, but I'm enjoying it actually, and I'm a trial lawyer, so I get to bring my skills to different areas.
Some of the people that you've represented are Snoop, right?
Snoop, Tupac.
Tupac.
Yes.
Some other ones?
I'm representing The Game right now. I'd never heard of The Game, but apparently The Game is a big deal. When we go to court at the criminal courts building, he's like mobbed. So
really?
I guess he's a big
deal.
deal. The Game.
Okay, I'll have to check into that.
Right, but if you're going to refer to me, you have to go Game. You can't say The Game.
Not The Game.
Game,
Yeah,
if you're really
forget
cool.
about the
You say
articles.
the, right.
Okay.
Exactly.
There's a question. Celebrity justice.
Yes.
Different standard?
Well, you know...
Harder to get someone acquitted? Harder to get someone convicted?
It's so difficult now because there's so much scrutiny, and the prosecutors don't want to seem as if they're treating anybody different. And almost as they do that, they go overboard. They're so busy trying to make sure that they're treating the celebrity the same that they really end up not treating the celebrity the same. And I think that the judges do the same thing. And now there's also these magazines and TMZ.com, and they're right there. They know everything before you do it. So much of what you do in representing a celebrity client is strategizing with regard to the media aspect of it, that becomes, you know, just as much of a focus as the defense of the case itself.
Right, but you hear of many people say there's 2 levels of justice, for those who can afford it, you know, and those who can't. Is that true?
I do think that's true, but if that is true, what that really means is that the celebrity gets what everybody else should get, which is a presumption of innocence, and really can match the resources of the state. So it's unfortunate that everybody doesn't get that, but really what the celebrity gets is what everybody should get. It's the right way.
Right.
It's innocence.
They get the resources.
They get the resources,
Money.
and I think they usually get a presumption of innocence.
Good.
Usually.
What are some of the legal issues right now that you're most concerned with in America today?
Most of my friends are public defenders,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I'm always going to be a public defender at heart. So I really do just care about poor people and people of color really getting a fair shake. And
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it in many ways because I'm at this fancy firm in Santa Monica, but
Yeah.
I really am concerned about that. I still have a couple of civil rights cases, and that is what is really important to me.
How do you change the way a judge looks at a person so they get a better shake in front of the law?
Being able to persuade, being able to make the judge see that the person before him or her right in that moment deserves absolute consideration. It, I think, becomes in many ways kind of looks like a rubber stamp, like an assembly line. You know, you
Yes.
just see these people coming through. And
They've seen it all, they've heard
seen
it all.
they've heard it all. And I think it's natural probably for them to, in many occasions, many cases, just kind of have that assembly line attitude. But you've got to make them stop and see your person as a person with a life and circumstances that are unique to him or her. You know, it's an amazing, amazing job. It really is.
Have you ever represented anybody that you felt that you knew was guilty?
As a public defender, you represent a number of people who you know are guilty.
So in your mind, you know you have to give them the best representation.
And you know what, I liken it to, because people at dinner parties ask me this question: how could you represent this person?
I'm
And
not
I-
asking it. I'm saying,
Okay,
have you
all right.
ever done that?
I absolutely have.
'Cause I already
and-
know how can you do it.
Well, here's the analogy that I use. If you're an emergency room doctor and the most deplorable person in the world, let's say Adolf Hitler, comes in on a gurney, you don't say, "Ah, there's Adolf Hitler, I'm not going to fix the spleen," or whatever it is. I mean, you just go into doctor mode and start performing whatever sort of procedure you need to do to save this organ. And that's pretty much what it's like.
But you oftentimes, not often, but sometimes you come across an avenue, an opportunity where you can get this guilty person off because the police screwed up or whatever.
Right.
What is your moral conviction about pursuing a strategy of getting them off because you're giving them the best defense, but
Yes.
you absolutely know they're guilty?
Well, see, then the prosecutor hasn't done his or her job.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So
That's important.
That's important. So I just did my job, and if the prosecutor was doing his or her job,
Right.
well, then the person, the defendant, should have been convicted.
You had a very interesting case, Sara Jane Olson.
She was accused of planting bombs under police cars 27 years ago as a
Yes.
member of the Symbionese Liberation Army, and went on to live a life in St. Paul as a
Oh,
doctor's
yes,
wife and
yes.
mother of
And she
3
finally
girls.
got caught.
America's Most Wanted did like a
Yes.
composite drawing, and a neighbor said, "I think
Yes.
that's Sara Jane Olson down the street," and brought her in. And it was a really interesting case because now, all these years later, we're having to look at these issues that were relevant way back when,
Right.
like, you know, kind of revolution. And in the middle of representing her, the September 11th happened, and so the word terrorist took on
Right.
particular meaning, and the DAs made it clear they were going to use that word against her, and that
Yes.
was obviously a very loaded word. So she ultimately decided to plead guilty, and her sentence was supposed to have been 5 years, 4 months, but because of how old the case was and because of the political aspect of it, the Board of Prison Terms increased her sentence to 14 years. We believe that was done illegally. And
The
we are,
Board of Prisons,
Yeah.
not the judge.
The Board of Prison Terms.
How can
and
they do this?
Because that's what the sentencing laws were back then, and you
Right.
had to use the laws from back then.
Right.
And so they could increase her term if they found she was a present danger to society. Well, of course, she's
She had
not a
been.
present
Yeah.
danger to society. She demonstrated that she's a model citizen. And that's why I say it was very political for them to have extended her sentence, not having found she was a present danger to society. The intended victims in the case were police officers.
Yes.
They have very long memories. They were there
Yeah.
at the hearing. And so I'm continuing to fight that case. I actually have a hearing before Judge Fiddler, who's the judge inspector, next Friday, because we're still trying to get her out. She actually has a release date of next year, incorrectly.
I want to thank you very much for being on this show.
Thank you.
You know, it's been a wonderful time having you on here. I'd like to have Howard Weitzman on here again.
I will get Howard Weitzman here.
And you keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being on the show.
Great being here.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. We hope you've enjoyed the show. You can catch more of these shows at www.insiderexclusive.com. We'll see you again.